What happens when you start to feel that sense of losing control? When fear starts to creep in and you're wanting to make sure it all goes right? What happens when you look around you and you feel like you don't understand why something is happening? That sense of separation from meaning is particularly painful when we're not deeply connected to love. That's what we're talking about on day 13 of ReWired. I'm Jamie O'Connor. I am your guide in these 365 days. Practical, easy, yet transformational 10 minutes a day to help you reconnect to your deep sense of miracles and co-creation and synchronicity, particularly for the high achiever who is spiritually curious. I don't know about you, but control is my number one go-to. I have it deep within multiple profiles, whether you're looking at human design or gene keys or astrology. The shadow is really, really in me. And when I am in a place where I'm lacking trust and faith and deeply connected to love, man, do I get controlling. And that affects everything around me. Now, one of the things that is vital for you is to start to come to a place of what is your relationship with what I'm going to call God. Now, a lot of people have an issue with that particular word describing this, and I want to ask you to open your mind if you're one of those people. I am using that word after a lot of time coming to a place of a deep understanding of what this is and the spirit in which I have built a deep relationship with, rekindled the relationship because it's always been there. I have my own definitions of God. I'm not going to talk about them here today because I don't want to influence what your relationship, view, and description of God is going to be. I will share with you that it's been a journey coming to a place for this. For a long time, and still today, I will often refer to God as the universe or energy. That is, which is all around us. God is just the simplest term to call it. My description is dynamic and moving with the experiences I have and the growth that I go through in my spiritual journey. I remember back when I was active in 12-step in Al-Anon because I have been deeply surrounded by addicts and alcoholics. It was my entry point into spirituality, and it really has set the foundation of so many things. I can see the interweaving of so much of what I learn in the spiritual world across lineages in the foundations of 12-step. But it's just like everything else, not a dogma to me. I use what I like and I leave the rest, and I allow it to help me grow. In any case, I remember vividly early on being in a room and somebody said, if I can define my God, it's not big enough. That has stuck with me. If there's anything that has helped me continue to have that relationship with God, the universe, energy, it is remembering that. It is so big, we'll never truly be able to understand it. It is the great mystery for me. You get to define what it is for you. And the additional practice today is going to be one that is going to guide you in some journaling to come to a place of recognition of what God is for you. But to bring it all the way back to the lesson that is today, in the viewpoint of A Course in Miracles, which we are inspired by, God actually does not create anything that is meaningless. So these practices of hearing meaninglessness in the world It was meant to bring up fears in you. It was meant to bring up and show you what your mind is creating for you and the battle that it's trying to create with God. When we don't see that all is made from and with love, and that there is something that will be opened up, revealed, and given, even in the worst of scenarios, and have the full faith and trust in that wholeness. When we feel the sense of separation that is created when we battle, even subconsciously, with God, the universe, energy, that which is in all of us, it creates a deep sense of fear and anxiety. So if you have started to feel that in any of these practices, this is a place to take note of it and sense the lovingness that exists in everything. Love on that part of you that feels that fear, because that is really just the waymarking sign to show you that it's out of a place that is separated from love, separated from co-creation, separated from miracles, and that it isn't actually truth. See, the thing is, the majority of what we see is actually made of empty space. It's believed that only 4.6% of material is actually made of atoms, and everything else is empty space. Now, when we're operating from a place of fear, we need to fill that empty space with something, because when we're operating from fear, even when we don't realize we're operating from fear, the empty space is a scary, scary place. And if we can recognize that and we can start to gently observe, then we can start to see that the empty space is actually where peace exists. That we don't need to fill it, that we don't need to take back control and do something with it. And that once we can let go of those pieces, the empty space that we don't know what is, then miracles can start to occur. So much of what we know today is based on only what we can observe and prove. And yet we know for sure we don't see everything. So today's exercise is really meant to bring you back to recognize that seeing a meaningless world is what creates the fear. Seeing a meaningless world is what then drives you to take back control in everything you do, often subconsciously, not even realizing it. And this is so deeply true for us high achievers. We have gotten to where we are most of the time because we could control it, and we're so good at it. We have to release the fact that we're the ones in complete control. If you're a business owner, this probably is seeped in everything you do. I know as a mom and a business owner, if I'm willing to observe it, I see the mirror of where my fear operates in control often. And if I'm willing to take a step back and see myself and all of that from a loving and compassionate place, then it starts to transform all on its own. But I have to allow the space for that to be true. And I have to be willing to open my eyes to the fact that it is happening. How much more powerful life can be, how much more joy and loving and present when I can allow others to live their experience. How much grander can it be? I know you've probably had that experience where what was created was so much bigger than your imagination could ever have created. Yes, you have vision, but when you let go it can grow so much more. So today's exercise, we are going to again bring back the idea of I'm looking at a meaningless world. And then we're going to ask yourself, do I want to be in competition with God? And we're doing that because in reality, when we take back control, that's what we're doing. We're competing with God. Now, again, if God is a word that you have trouble with, one, I encourage you to do the journaling exercise. And two, use whatever term works for you to allow this to exist and open up your mind. Okay. So now take those few moments, find a comfortable place, whatever that is for you, and start to connect with wherever you're connected to the ground. Start to take your deep breath in and send it to that place, filling up your body all the way up to the top of your head and allowing yourself to breathe out for twice as long as you breathe in. Doing this a few more times, recognizing the power of your breath inside you as you relax your tongue down the back of your throat, taking that breath in and releasing it about twice as long as you let in. Closing your eyes, keeping your eyes closed as you ask yourself, do I want to be in competition with God? Say to yourself, a meaningless world creates fear. Do I want to be in competition with God? Now open your eyes and look around your room, noticing everything, taking it in, and saying to yourself, I am looking at a meaningless world. Do I want to be in competition with God? Notice what comes up and take note of it. These are your wayfinding signs, the places where fear is existing, and for you to take notice. Shadows are only places where light has not shined yet. We welcome them in. I appreciate you showing up today to lesson 13 of ReWired. If you found this video, audio somewhere on the internet, I encourage you to consider joining us. For ReWired, you would get a daily email to remind you starting at day 1 to practice these daily practices that will help you rewire your brain for miracles. Particularly created for the high achiever who is spiritually curious and ready to step into their greatest purpose, their greatest power, and make a true positive impact on the world. Thank you again.